There was never supposed to be a naval showdown in the Ukraine conflict. Russia believed it held all the advantages, with the Black Sea Fleet towering over Ukraine's navy, stronger and more dominant. The waters should have belonged to Russia, it was their playground. Yet, for nearly 4 years, Vladimir Putin's forces have faced relentless embarrassment, constantly outmaneuvered by Ukraine's daring strikes. And just recently, the humiliations have multiplied. Russia assumed that stationing its finest warship far from Ukrainian reach would guarantee safety. But that assumption proved catastrophically wrong. On November 25, reports emerged that Ukraine's drones had pierced Russia's defenses at Novorossiysk shipping port and struck directly, hitting a massive Russian warship. This attack was part of a wide-ranging assault, several strategic military and logistical sites targeted in the port city, nestled in Krasnodar Krai, one of the busiest ports in the Black Sea. Novorossiysk is critical. Russia relies on it to export oil worldwide. Its importance made it a prime target. But Ukraine's late November strike went beyond the port's infrastructure. It struck something Russia believed to be untouchable. According to Ukrainian sources, the attack was a coordinated effort involving the country's elite military units. The Security Service, Special Operations Forces, and Main Intelligence Directorate all collaborated. Border guards, drone operators, naval units, missile batteries, an entire storm of attacks unleashed against the port's defenses. Who knew what no one else saw? They must have possessed knowledge that gave them a decisive advantage. Ukraine didn't just damage infrastructure, it targeted the heart of Russian naval power. Their drones scored direct hits on a colossal ship stationed in the port, none other than a Project 1171 Toper-class amphibious transport, a true giant among Russia's fleet. This vessel, a floating fortress, was likely used to ferry troops into Crimea and even onto mainland Ukraine. Developed in the 1960s, these ships are relics, old class vessels with limited replacements. Russia only built 14 of these during their main production run, which ended 5 decades ago. Losing one is a blow difficult to repair. The ship crewed 55 sailors, including 5 officers. Capable of speeds over 17 knots, it could cruise 6,300 nautical miles at top velocity, roughly the distance from New York to Mediterranean shores. Distinct versions could carry up to 1,000 tons of cargo, troops, tanks, trucks, or armored vehicles. The first batch transported hundreds of soldiers, while later modifications increased troop capacity to 440. These ships weren't just cargo carriers, they were armed, equipped with anti-air missiles and a variety of guns. Yet, they remain vulnerable relics, targets for modern drone technology. And the attack was not solely on the ship, it was a strategic blow. Ukrainian drones relentlessly targeted the port's main facilities, hitting oil refineries, transportation hubs, and military bases. They even disrupted air defenses, knocking out key parts of Russia's shield in the region. The night was filled with destruction, echoing with the clangs of missile impacts and the distant roar of explosions. What does this reveal? Ukraine's precision and daring are rewriting the rules. Their ability to strike at such vital targets exposes glaring weaknesses in Russia's defenses. The damaged ship, most likely the OSK or the Nikolai Filchenkov, was towed away in distress, a catastrophic loss. Satellite images confirm its ruined state, being hauled from the port's protected waters, another symbol of Russia's faltering grip. Russia's reaction? A baffling response. Instead of retaliating with targeted missile strikes, they turned inward, firing surface-to-air missiles at their own city. Residential buildings caught the fallout, shrapnel tearing through neighborhoods, citizens caught in the crossfire of a war they didn't start. Was it chaos or deliberate desperation? The images speak volumes, missiles blasting into the sky, then plummeting onto homes, turning living rooms into war zones. The scene is disturbing, a city under fire from its own defenses. Meanwhile, Ukraine's strikes continue to rattle Russia's military backbone. They hit oil facilities, command posts, and air defense systems, meticulously chosen targets that cripple Russia's strategic position. Is this a turning point? Or a sign that Ukraine's resilience is forcing Russia onto its heels? Novorossiysk's port, a colossal hub for Russian exports, is now a battlefield. Vladimir Putin's investments in this vital gateway are unraveling before his eyes. Once a fortress of confidence, it's turning into a symbol of vulnerability. The question remains, how long can Russia protect its prized assets when Ukraine's daring continues to surprise and outrun their defenses? This war has entered a new chapter, one where relics of the past face the ruthless precision of modern technology. The battle for the Black Sea isn't just about ships and ports, it's about power, daring, and survival in a conflict where nothing is safe anymore. Imagine the shock of learning that Russia's mighty Black Sea fleet was supposed to dominate the seas in this Ukraine war, but instead, it's drowning in humiliation. Is Ukraine rewriting naval history by turning the tides against an unbeatable force? Feel the spray of salt water on your skin as waves crash, echoing the relentless drone hums cutting through the air. Tension builds like a storm swell, with Vladimir Putin watching his once invincible navy crumble under relentless Ukrainian strikes. Shocking fact, despite Russia's overwhelming naval power, they've lost battleship after battleship to Ukraine's clever tactics, exposing cracks in their iron armor. There wasn't supposed to be a naval battle in the Ukraine war. Russia held all the advantages, boasting the Black Sea Fleet, which dwarfed the entire Ukrainian navy in strength and might. The water should have belonged to them alone. Yet, for nearly 4 agonizing years, Vladimir Putin and his struggling forces have suffered wave after wave of aquatic shame at Ukraine's hands. And it just struck again. Russia believed shielding one of their sturdiest vessels deep in a port far from Ukrainian reach would keep it secure. But that mighty ship lies shattered now, victim of Ukraine's drones, leaving Putin's navy bruised and battered once more. Remember how Ukraine's multi-branch forces unleashed a torrent of drones and missiles on Novorossiysk, shattering defenses with insider knowledge? Building on that crescendo of chaos, imagine the screeching alarms piercing the humid port air as strikes ravaged the town's military hubs and supply lines. What hidden weakness did Ukraine exploit to pierce Russia's armor? Picture the acrid smoke curling up, stinging eyes and nostrils, while the metallic clang of impacts reverberates through trembling metal hulls. On November 25, United 24 media broke early rumors of Ukraine's drone breaching Russian barriers at Novorossiysk, landing a precise blow on a formidable warship. This hit was embedded in a broader assault targeting multiple military outposts and logistics hubs in the Krasnodar Krai town, gateway to one of the biggest ports in the Black Sea region. Novorossiysk stands as a prime target for Ukraine, fueling Russia's global oil exports. Still, this late November onslaught struck beyond just the port, hitting what Russia deemed untouchable. Reports from Ukrainian source Romanska reveal the operation blended Ukraine's key branches, the Security Service, Special Operations of the Armed Forces, and Main Intelligence Directorate. Paired with border guards, unmanned systems crews, Navy, missile troops, and artillery units, they summoned a whirlwind of unmanned killers and projectiles upon Novorossiysk. From the drone storm's devastation of the port itself, marking yet another attack on this vulnerable spot, their drones nailed a colossal Russian warship anchored there. This vessel was a Project 1171 Tub-class ship, a landing craft Russia probably deployed to ferry soldiers from Novorossiysk into seized Crimea or Ukraine proper. Tub-class ships rank among Russia's heftiest amphibious behemoths, ideal for hauling troops and gear. According to weaponsystems.net, they originated in the early 1960s. Relics of the Soviet era wielded against Ukraine, with production peaking from 1964 to 1975. Why should alarms blare for Putin? This class hasn't seen new builds in 50 years, no mass output at all. Losing one means irreplaceable loss. Russia churned out 14 of a planned 15 during production, underscoring long-standing shipbuilding flops, not a new woe. They missed quotas half a century back. Details on the ship unveil a crew of 55, 5 officers included, maxing at 17.3 knots. Speed range, 6,300 nautical miles at 17 knots, 7,650 at 16 knots, stretching to 9,150 miles at a leisurely 9 knots. Cargo hull hinges on variants. Russia produced 6 initially, refined the last 8. Both haul up to 1,000 tons. Early models transport 313 assault troops, plus 20 main battle tanks, 47 BTR armored carriers, or 52 trucks. Later versions match vehicle counts but boost troops to 440. These behemoths aren't meek either. Equipped with twin ZIF-31B 57mm guns and 1,200 rounds, plus 24 surface-to-air missiles for aerial foes. Build 2 swap 2 57mm guns for 4 2M3 M25mm ones. Final 8 out of 42 Bay 215 Grad-M rocket system with 160 rockets, solid Soviet-era firepower, outdated yet handy for landing ops with self-defense flair. Yet, Ukraine seized the moment on November 25 to cripple a key Russian naval asset. But caveat, United 24 media's report lacked confirmation. Not until November 26, when satellite shots from Novorossiysk exposed the Tupolev-class ship in dire straits. Think of open-source analyst Tom Bake posting on X, with visuals showing the vessel hobbled in port waters, tugged by two boats from berth to a sheltered dock for fixes. Tolling's commonplace, but dual tugs hint at instability, maybe to steady a damaged hull. Movements betray heavy harm, per United 24 media. Bake notes Russians shuffle ships to dodge repeat hits. But new images scream trouble, with repositioning for repairs. Ship's name unknown. Russia's Black Sea Fleet retains two Tupolev-class, OSK and Nikolai Filchenkov. Likely one of these sank in the shadows. Kremlin silent, no admission of warship loss to Ukraine's flight. Russia retorted to Novorossiysk's drone barrage, but intriguingly. On November 25, Business Insider covered their response, blasting surface-to-air missiles, or SAMs, standard for drone busting. Issue? Missiles targeted Novorossiysk's own residential blocks, not inbounds. Ukraine's megastrike on a vital port city prompted Russia to self-sabotage. An anonymous Ukrainian source spilled this to Business Insider, backed by 8-second video from Ocean Technical's X-feed. Footage captures a SAM soaring high, then plunging fiercely earthward, just dozens of feet from the recorder, hitting what? A residential spot. As X-Channel Riley quipped, Russia's SAM intercepted its own apartments. Buildings that risky? Dangerous foes. Summarizing the drone humiliation, when Russians should have hunted /copters yet mangled their response, shooting at homes, compounding the port's pains. So recap. Ukraine shamed Russia anew, felling another warship in drone devastation. With embarrassment fresh, did Russia's vision blur? They retaliated by pelting missiles at themselves. Plus, the Tupolev-class falls among Novorossiysk's hit list. United 24 media highlights Ukraine nailing a drone factory, oil plant, Cheskari oil depot, S-300 and S-400 defense sites. New Voice of Ukraine calls it a fruitful night for Kiev, leaving Novorossiysk residents puzzled over lax protection. Sarcastic spin, Russia's shoddy defenses. S-300s and S-400s tasked with port guards seem inflamed, their SAM hurling partners now hostile to local flats, like irate builders with launchers. Serious side? Whispers question why Putin neglects Novorossiysk. It's no minor spot. One of Europe's top ports by volume, crucial for grain, oil, global exports. New York Times 2023 piece notes its scale, key to Russian trade. Putin invested heavily in a naval base pre-Crimea annexation, adds the outlet. The port served as Russia's premier Caspian port for shipbuilding. Novorossiysk's pre-annexation role lingers. Obama's 2014 Crimea speech highlighted the base's 50 ship capacity, 30 sea mines, facilities rivaling Sevastopol. Putin fortified it before October 2024 strikes. Now, Ukraine's drones probe weaknesses. Did Russia anticipate this? Putin hailed the base as a combat backbone. Yet, defenses falter. Satellites revealed S-400s, Pantsir-S launches moved post-strikes, but porosity persists. USSR-era quay cranes, oil terminals vulnerable. Ochakov base calmed Penton sees post-worries, but Ukraine's tools push edges. Putin linked naval strength to post-sanctions global clout. Reality bites differently. Questions swirl, can Ukraine crack Russia's naval myth? Or will Putin shield his seas? The air thickens with drone wars. Salty mist clinging, as next strikes loom, will Novorossiysk erupt again? In the shadowy waters of Novorossiysk, a quiet threat loomed. For decades, Russia's mighty Black Sea Fleet guarded its secrets, its biggest ships moving silently through the depths. But all that changed on November 25, Ukraine's daring drone strike shattered the illusion of safety. Could this attack threaten Russia's naval dominance? Just as the port's calm was shattered, reports began pouring in that one of Russia's pride and ancient yet formidable vessel was in trouble. The targeted ship was no ordinary craft. It belonged to the legendary Tapir-class, one of the largest amphibious ships Russia built during the Soviet era. Designed during the 1960s, with a capacity of up to 1,000 tons of cargo, it could carry 313 assault troops, battle tanks, armored vehicles, or trucks. These ships, once the backbone of Russia's amphibious assaults, have become relics. Yet, despite their age, they still pack a punch armed with dual 57mm guns, 24 surface-to-air missiles, and in later versions, advanced rocket artillery. They were built to dominate during the Cold War, ready to land forces anywhere, anytime. But the recent attack changed everything. Satellite images revealed something astonishing. The Russian ship, once proud and fearsome, was now damaged. Towed by 2 tugboats, an unusual sight, its hull was in distress. The sight of those tugs pulling a vessel that once symbolized Russia's naval might was shocking. Was it seriously damaged? Could the ship even be restored? The evidence was mounting. The ship was being moved to a protected harbor for repairs, hinting at severe harm beneath the surface. How had Ukraine managed to hit such a heavily fortified target? The answer was sitting silently in the waters, waiting, maybe wounded more than anyone realized. The true extent of damage became clearer with new images. The Tapir-class ship, once a symbol of Soviet naval engineering, was battered. It was a stark reminder that even the most formidable vessels can fall. Yet, the question lingers: how many more secrets does Novorossiysk hold? Is Putin's navy still invincible, or are these attacks just the beginning? The storm in the Black Sea has only just begun, and the world watches in tense anticipation. Will Ukraine strike again? Or has the Russian fleet finally met its match, hidden beneath the waves? In the chaos of recent confrontations, a shocking revelation emerges: Ukraine has struck a major blow against Russia's naval might. The attack targets a massive ship in the Black Sea, one of Russia's most formidable vessels from the Soviet era. But what's truly astonishing is the aftermath images reveal the ship being towed away, battered and in distress. Could this be the end for Russia's legacy of sea power? Previously, it was believed that Russia's Black Sea fleet was invincible. Its biggest ships, the mighty Project 1171 Tapir-class vessels, stood as symbols of Soviet engineering. These giants, capable of carrying up to 1,000 tons of cargo, soldiers, and tanks, seemed unstoppable. Yet, Ukraine's recent drone assault shattered that illusion. A single, well-placed strike rendered one of these treasures damaged beyond easy repair. The question now is, which ship is it? Satellite footage has confirmed the worst fears. The ship, identified by open-source analysts as most likely the OSK or Nikolai Filchenkov, is visibly in bad shape. Tugs have been seen pulling it away, and sources suggest it requires extensive repairs. But why did Ukraine target such a crucial vessel? These ships are not just military cargo carriers, they are vital for projecting Russian power into Crimea and beyond. Destroying one is a blow from which Russia might never recover. The consequences extend beyond the ship itself. The damage to the port of Novorossiysk is staggering. Ukrainian forces hit not just military targets, but also the port's critical infrastructure. Reports speak of strikes on oil refineries, drone facilities, and air defense installations, and all-out assault on Russia's economic lifelines. This night is seen as a turning point, a profound message that Russia's naval dominance is crumbling. In a bizarre twist, Russia's retaliation has taken an almost surreal turn. Instead of firing missiles at Ukrainian targets, they inadvertently launched at their own city. Surface-to-air missiles, intended for incoming threats, were misdirected, resulting in devastating damage to residential buildings in Novorossiysk. Witnesses described the roaring noise of missiles tearing through the sky an eerie, thunderous symphony of self-inflicted destruction. Footage captures these moments vividly, missiles soaring high, then plunging down with terrifying impact mere feet from innocent residents. The sound of shattering glass, the smell of burning materials, the feeling of shock, every sensation underscores the absurdity and tragedy of this response. Russia's attempt to defend itself has turned into a self-sabotage, exposing its vulnerabilities. As the dust settles, questions multiply. Why didn't Moscow reinforce its defenses more effectively? Why target civilians instead of Ukrainian military sites? And most critically, what is the true state of Russia's naval forces? Officially, Russia denies losing a single warship. Yet, intelligence sources suggest otherwise. The damaged vessel is most likely one of the remaining 2 Project 1171 Tapir-class ships, now battered and possibly beyond repair. The strategic implications are profound. Destroying a flagship from the Soviet era not only diminishes Russia's naval presence but also signals a dangerous shift in maritime power. This attack exposes the cracks in a once mighty fleet, raising fears of a broader erosion of Russian influence. The question haunting everyone, is this the beginning of the end for Russia's naval dominance in the Black Sea? Amid the chaos, one thing is clear: the war is evolving in unpredictable ways. Ukraine's cunning drone strikes have shattered illusions of invincibility, showing that even the most formidable ships can be brought down. As we watch Russia respond with reckless and self-destructive actions, the future of Black Sea control hangs in the balance. Who will control the waters next? And at what cost? The seas are trembling, and uncertain storm is brewing. I felt the sharp sting of salt air whipping across my face, the acrid smoke choking my lungs as I recalled that chaotic night in the war's early days, booms echoing like thunderclaps, the ground trembling underfoot, metallic tang of fear clinging to the skin when Ukraine first shattered Russia's naval dominance. It wasn't meant to be this way, with the Black Sea as Russia's unchallenged domain, their fleet towering over Ukraine's scraps. Yet, year after year, the embarrassment piles up. What if I told you Russia struck its own heart with missiles, not enemies? That twist of self-inflicted ruin grips you like a vice, doesn't it? Earlier, Russia devastated its own soil in Novorossiysk, launching surface-to-air missiles straight into residential towers, buildings collapsing in dust clouds, the crash reverberating through streets lined with terrified civilians watching plumes of destruction rise. Apartment blocks, meant to shelter lives, became targets of misplaced fury. Fire flared bright orange against the night sky, debris scattering like shards of a broken promise, as if the very earth mocked Putin's blunders. Now, piecing it together, Ukraine's drone juggernauts humiliated Moscow once more by obliterating a prized warship and a port thought impenetrable. Egg on their faces, perhaps yoke-blurring Russian sights, they retaliated by blasting their own defenses. But the Alligator-class vessel, that relic from 1970 shipyards, capable of hauling 313 troops or 20 tanks across seas of 9,150 nautical miles at a sluggish 9 knots, wasn't the only prize. Ukraine unleashed a barrage hitting a drone factory, an oil refinery, and the Tuapse oil terminal, pulverizing S-300 and S-400 positions, missiles detonating in fiery bursts, the acrid scent of fuel mixing with burnt earth. New Voice of Ukraine hailed it as Ukraine's pinnacle night, wondering aloud why Novorossiysk, Russia's Black Sea jugular, lacks protection. Sarcasm bites deep. Those flaming S-300s and S-400s chase phantoms, while launchers lob surface-to-air missiles toward their own abodes like a deranged architect wielding rockets. But the stark truth looms: why doesn't Putin fortify this nexus of Russian commerce? It's no backwater, home to Europe's mightiest ports by volume, channeling grain, oil, and goods to Asia, South America, Europe, and Africa. Putin's pre-Crimea encounter investments built it, yet defenses crumble. Could this lopsided gamble leave Novorossiysk exposed forever, turning Vladimir's dreams to ash? Stay tuned, for the tide might shift in ways no one anticipates. The Black Sea, once the pride of Russia's naval strength, has turned into a humiliating battleground. Against a country that built hardly a navy of its own, Russia's flagship, the once feared Black Sea Fleet, was supposed to dominate. Instead, it has been decimated. By the summer of 2024, Ukraine had obliterated a third of the Russian fleet using clever missile and drone strikes. Imagine the waves trembling beneath the pounding sound of missiles tearing through steel, the acrid smell of burning fuel lingering. Ships like the flagship Moskva sank into the abyss, their crews swallowed by the dark waters. Others were so damaged they were useless, sunk or abandoned. It became clear, Russia's navy was finished in the Black Sea. Most of the fleet retreated to occupied Crimea, but even that was not enough. By spring, the UK's Ministry of Defence confirmed the fleet was effectively shut down. Russia could no longer control this crucial waterway. Its plans to project power across the region and into Ukraine were shattered. But Vladimir Putin's support seemed unshaken, his narrative remained intact, hiding the truth from many. Yet the reality was devastating. Russia lost the ability to block access, to send troops or supplies through the Black Sea. This failure stretched far beyond the war. It limited Russia's global naval reach, forcing it into a dependency long thought impossible on other powers, notably China. In October, experts warned that losing control of this vital maritime route didn't just weaken Russia's military stance. It shifted the balance of power in international waters. Russia's naval weakness was now opening doors for its rivals and allies, with a new master emerging on the high seas. All the while, the Black Sea remained a stark reminder of Russia's fading dominance and Ukraine's resilience. As the waves continued to lap at the remains of a once mighty fleet, one question hung in the air: could Russia ever recover from this maritime disaster? Or was this the beginning of a new era of naval vulnerability? Imagine this: Russia's mighty Black Sea Fleet, once a floating fortress, reduced to hiding in shadows, begging for China's shadow to project power. But Ukraine's drones don't care about alliances, they strike without mercy. What if the sea itself turns against Putin? 347 characters. As we saw earlier, Russia's naval woes deepened with China emerging as the dominant partner in joint exercises held in July 2024. Those maneuvers highlighted a stark imbalance, the kind that stings like salt water in an open wound. Picture the salty tang of the sea air in Novorossiysk, where waves lap against docks echoing with the hum of hidden fears. Russia's ships, once proud sentinels, now skulk in ports far from the front lines. But Ukraine? They're closing in, relentless as the tide. Did you know that by April, the retreat from Crimea left Russia with ghosts of a fleet? Ukrainian Navy spokesperson Dmytro Pletenchuk revealed the bitter truth. Ukraine tracks every vessel, knows their hiding spots, their weary states. It's impossible to conceal such giants, he said, his voice steady amid the creak of strained hulls. Feel the chill of uncertainty aboard those decks. The combat-ready ships Putin rushed to safety? Vanished into repairs or obsolescence. We aid their modernizations, with precise interventions, Pletenchuk added, a hint of resolve cutting through the fog. Rhetorical funder: why build empires on water if the waves betray you? The auxiliary vessels linger, harmless as driftwood. No threat there, just echoes of faded glory. Now, recall that Tapir-class ship Project 1171 from Novorossiysk? It fled to Russia's core territory, not just occupied lands. United 24 media whispers of a mass exodus. Ukraine's reach proved too long, ports in Crimea crumbled under drone shadows. The air thickens with diesel fumes and distant rumbles. Ships reposition like frightened prey, engines groaning against the pull of safer harbors. Is Novorossiysk next? Ukraine's strikes echo like thunderclaps, shaking the Black Sea's underbelly. But here's the twist that twists the knife: with Crimea exposed and Novorossiysk vulnerable, what's left for Russia's naval grip? Zilch. Ukraine stands at the brink, ready to claim the waves entirely. What desperate move will Putin make when the sea runs dry of his illusions? Underneath the roar of relentless drones slicing through the salty sea air, the Kremlin watched in fury as Ukraine turned the Black Sea into a trap. The fleet, once a titan, now trembled under attack after attack. Doomsday didn't arrive for Russian ships, but did Ukraine just shatter Putin's maritime dreams forever? Imagine the distant crash of waves against hulls, the acrid stench of burning fuel clinging to the water, the cold grip of fear tightening on every crew member. That sting wasn't just defeats, it was erasure. Yet, in this ocean of chaos, a final blow looms, one that could drown Russia's naval legacy. What terror hides in the depths, ready to pull the Red Fleet under for good? Russia's once mighty Black Sea Fleet, humiliated and hobbled, now faces an existential dread that no steel or shell could fend off. Enemies lurk far beyond Ukraine's shores, turning every shadow into a battlefield. Vladimir Putin, desperate to salvage his shattered navy, made a drastic choice. He cancelled the country's Grand Navy Day parade in July. Alarms blared across St. Petersburg docks. The air hung thick with the metallic tang of panic. Sailors whispered under the clanging of chains, hands slick with sweat, hearts pounding. Concerns mounted: Ukraine's stealth drones could swoop in, striking ships paraded for show. The risk felt real. So too did the shame. Russia's diminished armada would parade not power, but frailty, a smaller, weaker fleet that begged for scorn. Could anyone admire these relics from a fading empire? As engines sputtered and flags drooped in the humid breeze, Putin hid his disarray, fearing the world's mocking gaze. Was this the end of naval bravado, or just the start of further embarrassments? And why tremble at what lay ahead? No, Russia's humiliations deepened, spilling into the shadows they thought impenetrable. Ukraine didn't stop at official warships. They hunted the ghost fleet. In a daring campaign across July, Ukraine unleashed strikes against about half a dozen shadow fleet ships. These were the illicit oil lifelines, peddling forbidden goods to hungry markets. Some attacks occurred well outside Russian borders. Whispers of covert operatives arose from distant ports. The Kiev Post's Chuck Farah painted a grim picture: Putin's shadow fleet, defying sanctions, now bled vulnerability. Every tanker became prey, its hull bruising under unexpected blows. The salty spray mingled with the roar of explosions. Crews felt the shuddering decks beneath their boots, icy chills crawling up spines. As Ukraine honed its unconventional weapons, Putin's web of deceit unraveled. No vessel escaped. Tankers, once symbols of defiance, now cowered as liabilities. The Kremlin's reality hit hard, no ship swam free. What twisted fate awaited these floating liars? Could Ukraine's reach choke off Russia's smuggling empire altogether? Losing shadow ships Ukraine wasn't even supposed to know existed hurt Putin's pride. But it revealed something worse for the Russian Navy. Ukraine had wiped the Black Sea Fleet from its effective map. Freed from constant threats, Ukraine picked naval targets at will. They shifted from warships to tankers, prowling rogue seas since early 2025. Why? Warships were neutered, mere ghosts in the mist. Russia faced an army picking and choosing, striking where it pleased. The assault on the Topor class in Novorossiysk? It screamed opportunity, a warship straying into vulnerability. The metallic screech of metals twisting, the bitter smoke burning nostrils, the weighted pull of dread, it all pointed to Putin's alarm. He might have feared the tide turning forever. Will Ukraine's next strike erase Russia's Black Sea dream, leaving only echoes of what was? Or could this spark a brazen revenge, plunging both sides into deeper peril? The horizon darkens with untold dangers, each wave hiding a potential cataclysm. As the fleet dwindles, one question haunts the waves: can Putin summon a storm to reclaim his stolen seas? Whatever unfolds, the ocean whispers of inevitable change, where pride meets merciless waves. Stay tuned for the unfolding saga, where every ripple reveals more chaos. Is this the moment Russia finally sinks into obscurity, or a twist that flips the war at sea? The answers lurk beneath, waiting to erupt in fury. Ukraine believed Russia's powerful Black Sea Fleet couldn't be touched, yet they pummeled it relentlessly. Putin pulled his warships back, thinking they were safe in Novorossiysk. But could he have been wrong? Would fading air defenses let Ukraine strike again, erasing more of his naval might? Imagine the salty tang of sea air mixing with the acrid smell of burnt fuel, as sirens wailed and explosions boomed through the night. Air defenses meant to shield Russia's prized ports now gape like open wounds. Ever-widening cracks in that protective shell made it astonishingly likely Ukraine would soon unleash another devastating blow. This time, targeting a Topor-class ship that Putin foolishly deemed untouchable. Putin's gamble had backfired spectacularly. He hoped withdrawing combat vessels from Crimea's treacherous waters would end the humiliation. Ukraine's relentless drones and missiles proved him disastrously mistaken. Not one vessel threatening Ukraine remained out of reach. Every ship, cursed by age and vulnerability, now trembled under the shadow of possible doom. The cold certainty of that realization must have felt like icy fingers gripping Putin's spine in the chilly confines of his fortified bunker. As Ukraine's arsenal battered Russian hulls with relentless fury, smells of gunpowder and scorched metal hung heavy, the earth vibrating underfoot with each impact. Another nation entered the fray, sending shockwaves through Russia's fragile bravado. Sweden, once a neutral bystander, now eyed a weapon that could shatter Moscow itself. A Swedish official boldly urged seizing a so-called Kremlin killer missile capable of striking Russia's capital if Putin overextended his predatory grasp. This missile terrified him more than NATO's might. Why? Because it turned the aggressor into the hunted, with a single launch potentially rewriting the war's balance in blood and fire. The emotional tide surged. Hope flickered for warriors like the Ukrainian operatives who blended shadows and tech, their hands steady on controls, hearts pounding in sync with roaring engines. Yet for Putin, the nightmare deepened. His navy, once a symbol of Soviet glory, now bled resources he couldn't spare. Crews muttered in darkened quarters, the feel of rusty decks a constant reminder of decay, while commanders grappled with the deafening silence of failed defenses. Russia's puppets in the Kremlin must have panicked, the weight of unseen tankers sinking under waves of global scrutiny crushing their deceitful schemes. In this whirlwind of strikes, Ukraine's unprecedented dominance exposed the emperor's nakedness. Naval parades cancelled out of fear. Shadow fleet vessels, vessels of illicit trade, torpedoed into oblivion. And now, Swedish resolve hinted at alliances tightening like a noose. But the shocking twist ignited: this Kremlin killer wasn't fantasy. Sweden's push revealed a classified program, buried for decades, reactivated to counter Putin's madness. What if it wasn't just Sweden? Whispers of other nations awakening their slumbering arsenals could birth an unprecedented coalition, turning the Black Sea into a fatal trap for Russian ambitions. The sea whispered secrets, waves lapping at reinforced hulls, but clarity dawned ruthless. Ukraine's triumph wasn't isolated, it signaled a global reckoning. Would Putin retreat into isolation, or gamble on a desperate counter that unraveled everything? The stage set for an epic epilogue, where drones hummed like fate's choir, and the taste of victory mixed with terror's bitter edge. The Black Sea port of Novorossiysk is a vital hub for Russia's global ambitions. It's one of Europe's largest ports, handling a staggering 2.2 million barrels of oil daily. That's roughly 2% of the entire world's oil supply flowing through this one gateway. Putin envisioned it as a powerful tool to export grain, oil, and extend Russia's influence across Africa, Asia, and beyond. The plan seemed unstoppable until Ukraine struck again. Imagine the smoky scent of burning fuel filling the air as Ukrainian forces unleashed a coordinated attack. The sound of drone wars and missile launches echoed through Novorossiysk's busy docks. The port, meant to project power and wealth, became a battlefield. Ukraine's offensive wasn't just about hitting infrastructure, it was about crippling Putin's ambitions, striking a blow to Russia's economic lifeline and strategic dreams. Yet, the true humiliation was yet to come. What happened next revealed the depths of Russia's vulnerabilities. Satellite images showed one of Russia's prized warships, the Project 1171 Tapir-class vessel, badly damaged and being towed away from the port. This was no small incident. Towing a massive ship with multiple tugboats indicated severe harm. These ships are relics of the Soviet era, once the backbone of Russia's amphibious fleet. If one of these vessel giants is crippled, it's a loss that can't easily be replaced. Russia built only 14 of these, and each one is irreplaceable. The loss of just one means losing a crucial link in Russia's Black Sea capabilities. And the damage wasn't just physical. The attack exposed gaping flaws in Russia's defenses. Ukraine's drones and missiles had bypassed layers of supposedly sophisticated security measures. The question remains, how did Ukraine manage to penetrate Russia's supposed fortress? The answer points to a systemic failure. Russia's air defenses have all but collapsed. Instead of retaliating effectively, Russia responded by firing missiles into its own city. The deafening boom of anti-aircraft missiles exploding near crowded buildings revealed a tragic irony: the very defenses designed to protect Russian soil were now endangering its civilians. This chaos signals more than just military setbacks, it exposes a strategic disaster. Ukraine's strikes damaged critical infrastructure, targeted supply lines, and hit military assets right at the heart of the port. The night was a culmination of tension and fury, an audacious assault that shattered the illusion of Russian invincibility in the Black Sea. With each blow, Russia's naval power shrank further, and its reputation took another hit. The once dreaded Black Sea fleet is now a shadow of its former self, battered and vulnerable. How much longer can Russia maintain this facade of strength? As Ukrainian forces continue to capitalize on these vulnerabilities, the question intensifies: will Russia's port of Novorossiysk, the gateway to its global ambitions, become a graveyard for its navy? The echoes of that night won't fade, they signal a new chapter in this fierce struggle for control and influence. And the true extent of Russia's naval crisis remains hidden behind the smoke and wreckage.